In Server 2019, we still have the IIS or Internet Information Services role that we can install, and so we can host websites. Let's go ahead and click on the Add Roles and Features. Click Next, and we'll keep clicking Next until we get to our roles, our server roles. So from here, we're going to go ahead and choose our web server. Let's go ahead and expand web server. We can see that this has already been checked, so it's already been installed. So if yours is not checked, just go ahead and click Next, 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 Finish, and it'll all be installed. All right, so that's how you install IIS. Now let's take a look at IIS. So let's go into Server Manager, and we'll go to Tools at the top, and we're going to go to where it says Internet Information Services Manager. And there we go. Let's go ahead and expand IIS. And we see our default site has been created by default when we installed IIS. If we click on Bindings, we can see that only port 80 is currently bound to our server. And if we click on Basic Settings, it tells us the default location for our website. So inet pub www root. And then if we click on Default Document, we can see default.htm is our default document. So let's create a quick little website and make sure that it works okay. So we're going to go into our folder here, click on this PC, C drive, inet pub, www root, which is exactly what it said our path was. And we see IIS start is already in there. So let's go ahead and just delete those. We don't want those. Let's right click and choose a new text document. And we're going to double click on the text document and say, this is our website. Let's go ahead and close it. And we'll rename it to default. Now, we also need to change the extension file, but we don't see that here. So we've got to click on View, File Name Extensions. Now we see that there's the .txt. So now we're going to click HTM. And we'll change it. And so now it looks like one of these Edge or Internet Explorer icons, which is what we want. Let's go back, make sure default HTML is at the top of our list, which it is. And then let's go ahead and open up our browser. And from here, we're going to type in, and we can put in either the IP address or the word localhost. Either way, it'll take us to the same place. Hit enter. And look at that. There's our page. This is our website. Now, I didn't show you how to program HTML or anything like that. Basically, I'm just showing you how to create a website using IIS. Now, it's up to you if you're going to do any of the programming or any of the other specialization that you want to do for website development. So let's go ahead and click back on our server. And we have lots of other options, such as server certificates, which right now there are none. So if you want to have a secure site, then you can create a server certificate and import it there. We can also take a look at authentication. So by default, we have anonymous turned on. That means anybody can get into our website. However, if we don't want that, then we can go in and change that from anonymous to creating a username and password in Active Directory, where they will then have to log in that way, or a local username and password as well. If we wanted to create another website, all we'd have to do is go to Sites, right-click, choose Add Website, and we'll just give it the name Test, and we'll give it the path, and we'll just put it in the same place, although I don't recommend that necessarily. Give it a host name. We'll just call it test.local. You see, we're going to be doing HTTP because we don't have a certificate, and we're using all unassigned IP addresses, but you can certainly pick one of the IP addresses if you want, and port 80 is the default. And we go ahead and click OK. Now, in order to make this work, we're going to have to use host headers, and that's because the test site and the default website are both using port 80, and the default website does not have any host headers. So I'll show you what that means. Click on Basic Settings, and we can see that our path is going to be the same place as our new website. So now we'll click on Bindings, and we see that it's blank here, which means that any website name will work. We don't want that. So we want to call this one default.local or .com or whatever it is. Click OK and close. So now, even though we're using the same IP address and the same port 80, it's going to use host headers, or with the name of the website itself, to get into the site. So that basically means that you can share the same IP address and the same port as long as you differentiate the different names for the sites in that location. So that's the basics of IIS in Windows Server 2019. We're going to do a lot more different videos on IIS, how to do some higher end things. So take a look at the playlist and you'll get a better idea of how to use IIS in Windows Server 2019.